Silence speaks louder than words when you know how to wield it. Imagine putting all your energy into someone, only to be met with indifference. You've bent over backward, rearranged your life, hoping they'd see your worth. But now, you're left empty, wondering if all the effort was for nothing. Sometimes, the most profound response is to give no response at all. What happens after rejection? Rejection can feel like a sharp blow to the soul. A sudden reminder that vulnerability isn't always rewarded. When faced with it, our first instinct is often to demand answers, to seek a reason that justifies the hurt. In a society that promotes the idea of speaking up and seeking closure, it's easy to feel that reclaiming our worth means confronting the situation directly. But that urge to chase answers can lead us further from the peace we actually need further from the peace we actually need. After rejection, we might feel a strong pull to validate ourselves, to prove to someone, or maybe just to ourselves, that we're worthy. Yet this urge to defend or explain ourselves can become a mental trap, where we become more focused on their opinions than on our own well-being. Embracing silence and focusing inwardly is often a more dignified path. This approach allows us to heal without needing external validation. By stepping back and choosing not to respond impulsively, we regain control of our own narrative. Rejection, though painful, doesn't have to shatter our confidence. It can be the turning point that brings us closer to resilience, dignity, and self-worth. 2. The concept of Stoic silence. Stoic silence is about channeling strength through restraint. Rooted in the ancient philosophy of Stoicism, this concept teaches that we gain power not by reacting to every slight, but by choosing where to focus our energy. Stoicism, practiced by philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, promotes self-discipline and emotional resilience. When we embrace silence after facing rejection or conflict, we're not surrendering or avoiding the issue. Instead, we're exercising control over our emotions, deciding not to waste energy on those who fail to value us. In Stoicism, silence is not passive. It's an active, powerful choice that serves as a boundary. By refusing to react impulsively, we shift our focus inward, using our silence to protect our peace. This approach forces others to grapple with their own actions without the comfort of our response, often making a more significant impact than words. Choosing Stoic silence conveys self-respect and dignity, signaling that our worth isn't contingent on anyone else's acknowledgement. This form of silence isn't about repressing feelings, but about prioritizing inner stability and growth. It's a reminder that our peace isn't something we should sacrifice lightly. 3. Why silence hurts more than word. Silence can be more powerful and painful than any word spoken. When someone expects a response and is instead met with quiet, it creates a void that demands their attention. This silence becomes a mystery, leaving them to fill in the blanks. They may ask themselves, are they upset? Have they moved on? Do they even care? This internal questioning can be far more unsettling than any verbal confrontation, as it forces them to reflect on their own actions and assumptions. In the absence of words, silence amplifies the unknown, making it a powerful tool that shifts the emotional weight back onto them. Without any clues from you, they're left to search for answers within themselves, often feeling the discomfort that comes with self-reflection. Silence becomes a mirror, encouraging them to see their own behavior from a new perspective. It's also a boundary, a non-verbal way of communicating that you're not going to respond out of obligation or hurt. Instead, your silence shows restraint, composure, and strength. This choice to remain silent isn't about withdrawing or shutting down. It's about standing firm in your self-worth knowing that sometimes the loudest response is no response at all. 4 signs that your silence is affecting them. When you choose silence over reaction, it can often spark a change in the behavior of those who initially dismissed or underestimated you. Suddenly, they start to notice your absence, and it shows. They may reach out more frequently, subtly checking in or finding reasons to cross paths. Curiosity about your life increases, and they may even begin asking mutual friends for updates or showing up where they know you'll be. Your silence creates a void they weren't expecting, one that subtly reminds them of what they took for granted. They may start watching your social media, liking old posts, or accidentally sending messages, each action an unspoken acknowledgement of your absence. Your silence forces them to question their choices and confront the impact of their actions without the reassurance of your response. What once seemed like a minor rejection now feels weightier, as they're left to wonder if they've misjudged you. Silence has a way of amplifying their awareness, turning what they initially ignored into something they suddenly miss. By holding your ground and refusing to chase, you allow them to realize your true value on their own. 5. How to embrace silence without bitterness. Embracing silence after rejection can feel like a struggle, especially when bitterness creeps in. It's tempting to let silence become a tool of resentment, but the real strength in silence is using it as a pathway to healing, not as a form of vengeance. Choosing silence after rejection is about finding peace within, rather than trying to make anyone feel regret. Release any lingering resentment by remembering that this journey is about your own growth, not about someone else's validation. Every rejection holds a hidden opportunity to become more resilient, self-assured, and aware of your own worth. By choosing silence, you're not ignoring your feelings. You're giving yourself the space to process them healthily. Let this silence become a personal retreat, a quiet time where you can reflect on what you truly want and what you deserve. Embracing silence in this way shifts the focus back to you and your goals, turning an emotional wound into a stepping stone for self-growth. When silence is rooted in self-respect, not bitterness, it becomes a powerful tool for resilience. It reminds you that your worth isn't dependent on anyone's acceptance or rejection. It's entirely your own. 6. The healing power of silence. Silence is often mistaken for emptiness, but in truth, it's filled with peace, reflection, and the potential for deep healing. When we allow ourselves moments of quiet after facing rejection or heartache, we create a space to reconnect with who we truly are, separate from the noise of others' expectations. In this silence, we find the freedom to process our emotions without the influence of outside opinions. It's a powerful pause that lets us realign with our inner self and rediscover our own voice. Through silence, we find an inner peace that reminds us we don't need anyone else's approval to define our worth. This quiet time allows us to release the tension and resentment that often follow painful experiences. Instead of ruminating over what went wrong, silence gives us the strength to move forward with clarity and acceptance. This healing process turns the absence of words into a sanctuary for self-discovery, where we can learn to value ourselves independent of anyone else's judgment. Ultimately, the healing power of silence is that it transforms pain into resilience, grounding us in a sense of self-worth that no rejection can shake. 7. When to break the silence. Silence can be powerful, but it's not always a permanent solution. There are moments when breaking the silence is essential, especially when it can bring closure, foster understanding, or pave the way for genuine healing. However, knowing when to speak up requires discernment. Not every situation deserves your energy, and it's vital to differentiate between healthy engagement and the risk of reopening toxic doors. If you feel that reaching out could lead to a positive resolution, consider doing so only when your emotions have settled and you're no longer seeking validation. Breaking the silence in a constructive way means speaking from a place of calm and self-respect, not from a place of lingering hurt or anger. Sometimes, communicating your feelings directly can provide the closure that silence alone cannot achieve. On the other hand, if reconnecting risks drawing you back into unhealthy dynamics or patterns, silence remains the better choice. Embrace it as a boundary that safeguards your well-being. Ultimately, breaking the silence should serve your growth, not drag you back into situations that drain your energy. Let your silence be intentional and break it only when it aligns with your peace and progress. Conclusion. Sometimes, the best way to reclaim your worth is to say nothing at all. Silence after rejection is a testament to your strength and the peace you've found within. Let them wonder, let them feel the void, and focus on the growth that comes from within.